The variety of finishes and ways a fight can end in the UFC is truly incredible. When you lock two skilled murderers in a cage eager to take each other's heads off, each one of them will do whatever it takes to win the fight, regardless of how the finish is executed. Flashy knockouts caused by a punch, high kick, or body shot are more common than the others. And we witness such finishes at almost every UFC event we watch. We can't say the same for leg kick knockouts. They are very uncommon, and most fighters use them to cause distraction before executing a hard blow to the head. However, there are elite UFC fighters whose kicks are so hard and brutal that they would end the fight immediately.
Do you want to take a chance and risk getting knocked out?
As the old Russian man, Krat, in the movie Undisputed 2, would advise, man is like a pyramid, but upside down. You cut his legs, finish. Speaking of which, in this video, we will count down the top 10 leg kick knockouts in UFC history. Before we start, be advised that we won't include self-inflicted leg kick finishes as Anderson Silva versus Chris Weidman.
And as I told you, John Danaher, oh my God.
But rather intentionally caused kicks to the legs that would force the opponent to surrender. Although these kicks are pretty sick, physically and metaphorically. If you are a UFC fan, you are probably not surprised that Edson Barboza is part of this list. The Brazilian fighter is a beast in Muay Thai and also holds a black belt in taekwondo. He has a record of 25-3 in kickboxing, winning 22 by knockout. If there is one thing he is known for, that's the nasty leg kicks and flashy knockouts that this fighter has on his resume. This fight occurred in 2010, and it was Barboza's UFC debut. This was way before Khabib revealed the blueprint of how to beat Barboza while avoiding any danger of getting knocked out.
Yeah, that switch kick is insane. He's going to move the full mount. Big John McCarthy.
12 years ago, when this fight took place, not many were aware of Barboza's power in his kicks, even less of the variety of combos he can preserve on the feet, or how to approach a fight against him. Barboza started that fight by implementing his game by throwing various kicks and punches while keeping his distance. The nastiest of them was the low kicks to Lulo's lead leg. Barboza would chop that leg from the beginning, and even though his opponent would show a good poker face in the first round, the damage was apparent. As the second round went on, Lulo would feel the full display of Barboza's combos on the feet, being in a position where it was impossible to figure out from which direction he would attack him. As the second round went by, Lulo's lead leg was more and more compromised, and it looked like the end was near. Finally, in the third round, Barboza would throw a few powerful leg kicks like he was trying to chop a tree with an axe and send his opponent to the ground.
That's it, stop the fight.
Breaking his spirit and making him look like he didn't belong there. The referee will stop the fight and prevent Lulo from taking any more damage.
Hit is all over. Good job.
This fight is an example of a fighter doing what he has got to do to win the battle by any means.
Gorilla Cannoneer!
That finish wasn't good for the eye, considering Anderson Silva's horrifying injury in the past.
Oh, nice. He checked him. He hurt himself. He hurt his leg.
Still, Cannoneer had his hands raised, making thousands of Brazilian attendants angry and frustrated.
Jared, the Killer Gorilla!
A lion is a lion, even if it's old, and Jared knew that. He was aware of Silva's craftiness on the feet, and instead of trading punches and wildly exchanging combinations,
Anderson Silva is in yellow.
He had a cautious approach. He would keep kicking Silva's inside leg repeatedly, compromising his ability to move.
Good hit.
What made fans angry about that was that it looked like Cannoneer was trying to use the horrifying leg injury that Silva had in the past against him. Sure enough, by the end of the first round, an inside leg kick would knock the legend down before the referee waved it off as a finish.
Knee injury for Anderson Silva, courtesy of the Cannoneer kick.
To make things worse, Cannoneer provoked the audience by giving "I can't hear you" gesticulation and parading around the octagon as he won by a spectacular knockout.
Silva thought about fighting back for a second, but...
Deserved or not, he would get booed in the post-fight interview.
First off, I want to say thank you to Anderson Silva.
While the fighters from Dagestan prefer wrestling and Sambo as a smashing tool to neutralize their opponents,
Set the triangle into the armbar. I can't hear what he's saying.
Dutch fighters, on the other hand, are known for their elite kickboxing skills and ability to knock people out cold.
Продолжаем. Бадр Хари продолжает избивать своего соперника.
Все.
The K1 was full of Dutch kickboxers, dominating the promotion, and no other country could come even close to what the Netherlands could offer.
Stays dangerous. Spokes on rubber legs. Here comes the ring.
Antony Hardonk was no exception, and his kickboxing skills were never to be underestimated. The English fighter Colin Robinson learned that the hard way in the UFC event that took place in 2008 in England. The Dutch fighter would need only 17 seconds to chop the leg of the home fighter, beating him in front of his home audience.
Calm. Very technical performance, very slow, very controlled.
Lesson learned. If you fight a Dutch kickboxer, you better close the distance sooner than your wife would spend your money shopping, or you might get knocked out fast.
Включается сейчас в руках.
Who says women don't possess that men's power to finish a fight with leg kicks.
She's hurt. There's in trouble. She's hurt. Hell, Holly looking to finish.
After a loss to Kat Zingano,
The cat showed some heart. Yeah, cat showed some heart.
Shayna Baszler was the first stepping stone for Amanda Nunes on the road to becoming a champion and one of the best female fighters of all time. The Lioness entered that fight like she had something to prove, as the loss by Zingano was just a learning experience and was now left behind. Amanda would start kicking Baszler's leg from the very beginning, getting the respect of her opponent while throwing different combinations of kicks and punches. The pain caused on Baszler's leg will soon be visible on her face as she would fall in the middle of the first round after receiving another low kick to the knee. There is no shame in losing to the future female GOAT. History tends to repeat itself. As memory fades, events from the past can become events of the present. If only Dan Evans' son was aware of that, he might have avoided getting finished by Pat Barry's leg kicks. Barry was 3-0 going to that fight, 2 of which were victories by leg kicks finish. If that wasn't an early indication that you should practice checking a leg kick, I don't know what else is. This was Barry's UFC debut, and he showed everyone that he possesses a power that nobody should be reckoned with.
That's right. And when he swings to finish fights.
As the midpoint of the first round was approaching, Evans' son's leg was already severely battered by Barry's powerful leg kicks.
And again, those are huge leg kicks.
It took one more clean shot to the leg to make Evans' son look like a drunk person leaving the bar.
They don't control the posture as much. There's the leg kick again.
The expression on his face indicated that he didn't want to be in that fight anymore, as the referee waved the fight off.
I mean, look at the technique. Look at this. Boom. Under.
A statement was made. You can't fight an elite kickboxer unless you know how to check leg kicks. If you are a fighter, you should probably know that avoiding being taken down by a Russian wrestler or staying on the feet against a Dutch kickboxer is a must.
It looks like he's tapped.
Sherman Pendergast learned that the hard way. One does not stand and bang with an undefeated Dutch kickboxer with a record of 17-0. The Dutch fighter did what he got to do, kicking Sherman's leg until he gave up. After delivering 3 massive kicks, Sherman was so hurt and done that it almost looked like he was knocked out by a blow to the head rather than by low kicks. Referee John McCarthy went to the rescue, saving Sherman and allowing him to fight another day. Remember when Mark Hunt said, "I hit him in the head, and there goes your black belt." Edson Barboza must have listened to Hunt's quote but misinterpreted that slightly differently.
I mean, he does not discriminate. That looked like...
He probably thought, "I'd kick them in the legs, and there goes your black belt."
Argue it.
Oh my goodness.
That was the case in the fight against Rafaelo Oliveira. To avoid being taken down and submitted on the ground by the BJJ black belt,
He is a dynamic striker.
Barboza repeatedly kicked Raffaello's legs through the whole first round, slowing him down and preventing him from controlling him in the clinch or executing a takedown.
Leg kicks. Oh, hard one to the body. Oh, man.
By the end of the first round, Raffaello's legs were ground meat already, and possessing a BJJ black belt was as useless as a bald dude owning a hairbrush.
And again.
What is peculiar about this is that Raffaello never tried to change stances and protect his lead leg from observing further punishment.
That he has not switched his stance. He still has that left leg forward.
2 minutes into the second round, after 3 nasty leg kicks delivered by Barboza, the fight was over and done.
Oh, man. Long time. You're seeing horrible swelling right now. He can't do it much longer. That's it. That's it.
And it's all over.
In the early days of the UFC, when there were no weight classes and this sport was considered by many as cockfighting, Marco Ruiz was one of the first to show the world that leg kicks can change the whole game. Marco Ruiz should not be mistaken for Mauricio Shogun Rua. They are two totally different fighters. In a classic David versus Goliath fight, Ruiz will take on a 6'8" giant weighing 300 pounds, Paul Verlaine.
Shows some punching and a kick to the body.
Ruiz knew that the bigger they are, the more power they possess. To avoid a brawl where he could put himself at risk,
Hurts the leg, you want to hit the other guy in the leg.
Ruiz would approach this fight very interestingly by constantly kicking Paul's lead leg for over 10 minutes.
You can see the bruises on his leg. He's hurt. That thigh, he's not going to be able to walk tomorrow on that leg.
After 13 minutes of observing heavy punishment, Paul's leg would finally give up.
You know, a day late, $1 short. You know, he's taking a lot of punishment on that left leg. There it is again.
The fight should have been stopped right there, but Ruiz would deliver some super necessary ground and pound strikes before the referee John McCarthy had seen enough.
Down goes Rollins.
Oh, then that thrown in the towel.
Let's be honest, flyweights don't have that Francis Ngannou power in their kicks and punches. So, scoring a leg kick knockout in this division is rarer than rain in the Sahara Desert. To score such a knockout, a flyweight must throw tens of accumulating kicks to the leg from every possible direction. And that's exactly what Alex Perez did in this fight.
Alex Perez possesses.
But Jussier's seen it all.
Unlike many others, Alex launched a lot of leg kicks while blending them with various boxing combos.
Another one.
By doing this, he was able to land many blows without offering Formiga even the slightest hint as to where his next attack would come from. He kicked Formiga's leg from the inside and outside, below and above the knee.
He's moving funny on it now.
Formiga fought a good fight and even checked some of those kicks. But sometimes, even fighting well is not enough if your leg is compromised.
Part of their strategy coming into this fight was attack that left leg.
After delivering consecutive calf kicks by the end of the first round, Alex Perez would send his opponent to the canvas, forcing the referee, Keith Peterson, to stop that fight.
Formiga can't put any weight on that kick, on that leg.
Oh, and Perez goes right back to the well.
Unlike Dominic Cruz, Formiga seemed grateful to referee Peterson for the stoppage as he had no intention of getting up and continuing to fight.
That low kick, the real low on the calf kick, such a dangerous kick.
This was a classic young versus an old lion fight. Dan Severn, being 42 years old at that time, wasn't even a shadow of his old self while Pedro Rizzo just hit his prime. Dan's judo and jiu-jitsu credentials, combined with sambo skills, were enough reasons to smash people in his prime and dominantly defeat them. However, at the time he fought Pedro Rizzo, the only scary thing about Dan Severn that was left was his mustache. He started that fight with a takedown, which Rizzo easily defended. Rizzo is not some Dutch kickboxer who doesn't know how to defend a takedown. As a Brazilian, besides being a Muay Thai specialist, he also possesses a BJJ black belt, allowing him to neutralize the grappling department of the game. After the unsuccessful takedown attempt, Severn backed up against the cage, allowing Pedro to implement his game by keeping him at a distance and picking him apart with kicks. Sure enough, Pedro would land a perfect inside leg kick that would send Severn down. The old lion was not done. He quickly stood up. But that was when he knew he didn't belong there with the 26-year-old prime Rizzo. Right after the first low kick, Pedro would lend another powerful inside kick to the lead leg of Severn, sending him down to the floor in agony. The referee John McCarthy saw enough and saved Dan from taking unnecessary damage on the ground.
Twice and he finishes it quickly. And a great show of respect as he...
Many people like to argue about what martial art is best for street fighting. You will often hear boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. But one thing you don't hear as often is kickboxing. After watching these top 10 greatest leg kicks, do you think that kickboxing is a valid art for self-defense?